أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله يستفي من الملائكة رسلا ومن الناس. الله يستفي من الملائكة رسلا ومن الناس. إن الله سميع بصير. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم وافعلوا الخير لعلكم تفلحون. الله يصطفي من الملائكة رسلا ومن الناس. إن الله سميع بصير. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم وافعلوا الخير لعلكم تفلحون. وجاهدوا في الله حق جهاده هو اجتباكم وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج ملة أبيكم إبراهيم هو سماكم المسلمين من قبل وفي هذا ليكون الرسول شهيدا صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. SABA Islamic Center.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان ولعن الله أعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أومن كان ميتا فأحييناه وجعلنا له نورا يمشي به في الناس صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. We have reached our second night in the days of Fatimiyya, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our grief and accept our tears on tonight being the Shab and the night of the Shahadat of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra salamullah alayha. The topic that I introduced to all of you last night was being a light for others. And this, of course, was chosen very carefully in the idea and the concept that we are, of course, in the days of Fatimiyya. And, you know, her life of 18 years is somewhat of a mystery historically. There isn't much written about her day-to-day life in terms of what she did. And, you know, we hear a lot of, you know, her service to Islam through her father's life initially, how much she supported her husband, her father's mission, being Abiha, for example, the mother of her father, supporting him, you know, attending to his wounds, giving him that encouragement. And then we hear a lot about her defense of her husband's wilayat after Ghadir and after Saqifa. And then, of course, we hear a lot through the various advices she gave her children. But that's about it. You know, historically, it seems as if everything about her is hidden, is a mystery from her everyday life, like I said, to, you know, her burial, to her to her grave. And it's almost as if the ulama are asking us to just respect that privacy, respect the mystery behind the history. And so, while per se we can't really present a biography of her, we can, of course, extract lessons from her life. And one lesson that is obvious in terms of, like I said, her selfless service towards the Prophet of Allah, her selfless defense of her husband, and even advice that she would give her children, for example, teaching them that when you do pray on the musalla, pray first for others and then for yourself. There seemed to be this common theme when it came to everything that she did in her life that really reeked of selflessness, that smelled of selflessness. This idea of always thinking about everybody else before you think about yourself, this idea of serving others, helping others, pulling everyone else out of their darkness. And I thought, based on this one trait, that we would spend 3 lectures on this subject. And last night, we presented initially the first half of the verse of our base discussion, being from Surah An'am, verse number 122. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you were spiritually dead, and then after you were dead, فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ, we gave you life. Not just life, وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا, we also gave you light as well. So we gave you hayat and we gave you nur, we gave you life and we gave you light. And that light wasn't meant for yourself. Yamshi bihi finnas. With that light now, you have to walk with it amongst the people. Meaning that use that light now to illuminate the path of those around you, to rescue them from darkness. And we talked about the fact that it takes a very special heart to do that, given yesterday's hadith by Imam Sadiq of the 4 categories of the heart: qalbu mankus, qalbu matbuun, qalbu al-azhar, etc. That was all yesterday. And finally, we gave this hadith Qudsi. Remember, فَمَنْ قَصَدَنِي عَرَفَنِي وَمَنْ عَرَفَنِي أَرَادَنِي, all that entire hadith that I presented to all of you, just to get to that point when he says, وَمَنْ وَجَدَنِي خَدَمَنِي, when you find me, Allah says, you serve me. Meaning you wish to serve me. There's a desire to serve me. Now that you found me, you want to serve me. Now, how do we serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by looking at 2 different dimensions. One, of course, is the haqq that He has on His shoulders. Another is a haqq of others that they have on their shoulders. Sorry, on our shoulders to fulfill that haqq, on our shoulders to fulfill Allah's haqq. Now, fulfilling Allah's haqq, I'm sorry, is pretty easy in the sense that it's quite known. There's salat, there's som, there's fasting, there's hajj, there's giving khums, there's following Allah's sharia. Okay, that's pretty much giving Allah what He needs. That's serving, that's being a khadim when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what about the other dimension? I tell you from experience, I find it's this other dimension that gets lost in the shuffle. People think that, look, as long as me and God are good, doesn't matter how I am with anybody else. And that's 1,000% wrong. And it's just something that I'm so passionate about. It gets me angry, it gets me emotional, it gets me elevated, only because I've seen too many stories where this guy, for example, he's great, man. His salat on time. He's got a nice big beard, maybe sometimes a white beard. A nice, his forehead's all scarred from the sujood, and everything. There's dhikr on his lips, constant tasbih in his hand, possibly a topi and a hat wherever he goes. But you ask his family, and he's a tyrant inside the home, which tells me that he has it. He's deluded. He's delusional to think that I'm going to reach somewhere in the eyes of Allah. It doesn't matter how I am with my wife and my kids and my in-laws and my parents and my siblings. Who cares about that? Me and God are good, man. I've given Allah everything that He wants from me and more. So I'm good, man. I can envision the palace in heaven with my name on the front door of it. Meanwhile, the people that He should be looking after, constant complaints. Reminds me of that very famous story of the companion of the Prophet Syed after the war of Ahad. The war of Ahad, beside the Prophet of Allah now. leaves this world, the Prophet of Allah washes his body, reads Salatul Mayyit, buries him, talqeen, the whole nine. They go to his mom, Sa'ad's mom, for condolences. And the other companions congratulate the mother. That mashallah, you are now the mother of a person in Jannah. You know, I'm sure right now he's benefiting and really enjoying his time in heaven. Afterwards, the Prophet pulls him aside and says, what makes you think that he's in heaven right now? Prophet of God, I mean, he was in there in Ahad, and you know, you buried him and you washed his body and talqeen and all that. He says that if you could hear what I hear, you would hear the crushing of his bones in the grave right now. That yes, no doubt he was in Ahad beside me, but he wasn't good with his family. Didn't treat his wife and his kids well. So there's a huge portion of being a khadim of Allah, a khidmat guzar of Allah, a servant of Allah that actually involves others. And today I want to go through some practical steps. It seems to be a difficult thing to think about others. It really does. There's some of you, mashallah, who are very selfless. The first thought you have is, how can I use this now to help others? Remember, I said that there are some of you who have really used this pandemic now to grow as a family, to grow spiritually, to grow in every aspect possible. And you are in a very good spot right now in your life. Very privileged, very blessed, and you know it. You know, in this 9 months, the one silver lining, Maulana, has been that me and my spouse now are closer than we've ever been. Me and my kids are on the exact same page. My house is clean. I've done some DIY projects. I've decluttered, myself and my house, and Jamaat namaz and dinners together. And yeah, we're grounded. You know, we're not traveling, but we're together. And I'm actually enjoying the company of my family. That's exactly what the silver line should look like. So if you are in that position where things are great, not everyone is in that position. There's a lot of unhappiness out there, man. A lot of quiet suffering out there. People who have to face the person who's the cause of that stress 24/7. No break to go to her mom's, no break to go out, no travel alone, nothing. It's hard. If you are somebody who is like that, share that wealth. Share that wealth. Let's try to do our best to travel outside of ourselves, outside of our thoughts, outside of the me. Maybe for a moment break the idol of the individual inside of me. My thoughts, my emotions, what I like, what I don't like. And maybe we can travel outside of that and look at it for the sake of everybody else. You ever wonder why Shaheed is so revered in Islam? A Shaheed, a martyr. Now there's aqsam, there's categories of what a Shaheed is, but ultimately the sacrifice of the martyr is the one that commands their respect. Right? Is my mic off? Is the one that commands their respect. Because now this martyr, whoever they are, they're able to do what? They're able to travel outside of their comfort zone. Their comfort zone is me. I am my own comfort zone. I like me. I know me. I like the way I feel. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. This and that. I'm comfortable in this. Okay? So now what Syed Asad is asking me to do is travel outside my comfort zone and be a little bit uncomfortable for the sake of somebody else. And that's exactly what I'm asking myself first to do, and then all of you. Absolutely. If you have enough light in your life right now to illuminate 10 homes, then begin to illuminate 10 different homes, including your own. I'm not saying for you now to, sit there in a cold, dark house while everyone else is heated and well lit. No, of course not. Imam Mujtaba gave away half his wealth in his life because the other half was for himself. If you have $2 in your pocket, you keep one for yourself, and you keep one and you give one to whoever you want in terms of charity. You don't give both dollars away. Don't feed someone so you can go hungry. No, Islam says that you also have to look after yourself as well. Anyways, but it's important that we travel outside of ourselves. Share that wealth. begin to think about everybody else. Now, why? The question is, why should I, Mulana? I mean, why? I've worked really hard at my marriage, with my family and my in-laws and my career, and I've gotten to this place. If others worked, maybe 10% of how hard I worked, they also wouldn't be in this predicament. Okay. First of all, it's a disgusting way to think. That's if you ask me. You don't know someone else's circumstance until you are in their own shoes, and you'll never be in their own shoes. Okay. But you know enough, and I have spoken about this to death, that we are not individuals who belong to an individual system of belief. Islam and Allah pushes and promotes the communal dimension of our religion, where if the group and the jama'ah at large succeeds, then those who are part of the jama'ah also benefit from that success as well. Okay? Makes complete sense. Now, let's go practical a little bit today. Yesterday I gave a lot of theory and some hadiths and some verses. Let's actually go through a number of different practical steps. The first thing is, let me present to you a little bit of an emphasis on where this idea of helping others fits in Islam. And you'll be a little bit amazed, maybe not, amazed at these traditions. The first one is from our Holy Prophet. Now, you have to understand now one thing. When you hear about a tradition from the Holy Prophet or from the Imams in general, they don't exaggerate. Okay? So if they say something, it's not like, it's not like someone like me who says something that, to wow the crowd, or no, they're actually pretty accurate in their conversation. Okay? First of all, they pick and choose what they say very carefully. They have immense depth in their words, and their words transcend generations. They're not just for that one group or one certain circumstance. Okay? Now, the hadith says that man qadha li akhihi mu'min hajatan. Okay, for the one now who fulfills the hajat, the desires of a believer. The one who now, remember the story I mentioned about Imam Ali, said that a true believer now accompanies another believer to their destination. I'm not talking about geographical destination. If somebody wants to get to a certain stage in their life and you can help them get there, then man, help them get there. If not for no other reason than because it is the right thing to do. Now the hadith says, for the one who does that, man qadha li akhihi mu'min hajatan, he says, ka'annama abdullahi dahara. Oh, it's like the one who has worshipped Allah their entire life. Their entire life. Not lip service, right? This is not like, this is not exaggeration. Okay. We have another story, two stories I want to share with all of you guys from the Imam's life to kind of bring the point home, and then I'll get to some practical advice tonight. Number one is Imam Mujtaba alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam Hassan now is in ittikaf. Please follow the story very carefully. He's in ittikaf, doing ittikaf. As you know, in ittikaf, there's very strict rules about not leaving the masjid. It's kind of like, an escape from the world. And, so he's in ittikaf. Somebody comes to him and says, Mawla, there's a guy that I owe 900 dirhams to. If I don't give him this money, he's going to put me in prison. And the Imam says, well, I don't have 900 dirhams right now on me. He says, well, can you help me convince him to not put me in jail? He's in itikaf right now. The Imam gets up and begins to walk out of the masjid with this guy. The companion says, Ya Rasulullah, do you not know that you're in itikaf right now? He says, of course I know, I haven't forgotten. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, through the Holy Prophet, the one who helps another believer, it's as if they have fasted in the day and worshipped Allah all night long. For a lifetime. He leaves ittikaf to go help this man in his situation. That's one example. Another example we have is during Hajj. A companion now is with Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. He's with his friend, and those two are with Imam Sadiq. Okay? They're doing tawaf. Now, just to kind of set the scene a little bit, all of you should know that there is an immense amount of reward attached to the act of tawaf, going around the Kaaba during Hajj. One round of tawaf, there's 7 rounds, one round of tawaf could possibly, if accepted, wipe out 6,000 of our sins. Okay. Now you might think, oh, Asad, what if I don't have 6,000 sins? Okay, well, inshallah, whatever, however many you have, it'll wipe that out. On top of that, it'll write down 6,000 good deeds for you. For every one round, there's 7 rounds in one tawaf. Okay? Figure it out. Do the math. Okay? Now that much sawab, that much reward for tawaf, the act of tawaf. Now they're in tawaf, 3 of them, right? The 2 companions, the 2 friends, and Imam Sadiq in tawaf. The one friend now is done his 7 rounds. He begins now to exit the tawaf. Okay? And this other friend now is now alone with Imam Sadiq going around the Kaaba. They're not done the 7 rounds yet. Now, as they're making their way around, the other friend begins to wave down the friend, saying, can you come here? I need your help. I need your help. This man ignores his friend. Number 1, he's with Imam Sadiq. Number 2, he's doing tawaf of the Kaaba. Whatever it is, it can wait. They go around again, and again he starts waving frantically. Can you come help me, help me, help me? Until Imam Sadiq sees this man waving. Do you not see? Your friend is waving you over. He's asking you for some help. He says, yes, I do, but right now I don't want to break my tawaf. I mean, after tawaf, I can go. It's like, no, go right now. Because you want me to break my tawaf? He says, yes. Go, break your tawaf, go, fulfill whatever desire he has, come back and continue. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that 6,000 sins and 6,000 rewards on one side, this one individual who might need something as simple as whatever on the other. Imam Sadiq is saying, leave the 12,000, 21,000, 24,000 rewards and good deeds and sins and go and fulfill that's one hajat and one desire of your friend. It's incredible. It's incredible. Now, a couple of things. Number 1. Sometimes what ends up happening is that we end up helping somebody and we don't get the response that we want from them, right? Wasn't a very good thank you. I went out of my way to deliver a gift at their doorstep. Maybe a food they like that I cook with my own hands, maybe some flowers, maybe, I don't know, an Eid gift or a Christmas gift or whatever the case may be. And I didn't really hear back from them. I know they're going through a lot now. There's a lot happening inside their home right now. But I went out of my way, went to the store with my mask on, hopefully, grabbed the stuff and went to the front door. I didn't get the response that I was looking for. I didn't get the response I was looking for when I reached out to help this person. So then we stop and we think to ourselves, I knew it was a bad idea. We always do that to ourselves. We either talk ourselves out of doing something good or we talk ourselves into regretting doing what we did that was good. It's true. Either we say, look, you know what? I'm not that close now. I don't know. Is it weird if I do that? Should I call her? Should I message him? Will I have to explain who I am? I don't know. And then, like I said yesterday, we talk ourselves out of something good. Or we do something, we don't get the response that we want, and we think to myself, I knew I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I told myself, don't do it, and I did it, and here I am now. I feel foolish now, and now I don't know what she's thinking about me, what he's thinking about me. I don't know. I don't know what. And all of a sudden now we become angry at that person, and that actually stops us from doing something good the next time. Now, let me address that for a moment, okay? I want all of you to understand 2 major differences between the morality of an atheist and the morality of Allah. Okay? Of a believer in Allah, I should say. Okay? The morality of an atheist, because there are people now who don't believe in God in this world who do very good things. They do very good things. They do. They do incredible work, incredible donations. They have, they establish centers and they build buildings and they help out, and that's great. But their morality is very apparent. Please follow me very carefully. Their morality is very apparent, meaning everything is tangible. Okay? Because their morality has to be seen, has to be on display, right? Something you can touch and take a picture with and a selfie with and look at and hear and visit. Otherwise, without it, people won't really know what you did. Even those who donate anonymously, everyone knows who Anonymous is. Everyone knows who Anonymous is. Somehow or another it gets out that this Bande Khuda donation comes from this family. We know it is. They know we know it is. Just stop. Stop with the Bande Khuda. Just put your name down, homie. We know it's you. You know that we know that you know that it's you. Come on. Right? That's not, I'm not calling them an atheist, but I'm saying that's one type of morality, a very apparent morality. Great act. I'm not denying the intention. That's good. There's reward. Great, but it's apparent. Okay? And the acceptance of it is based on how others see it. Okay? So if you built a school, let's say, or you helped build a school, let's say, I don't know, in a war-torn country, you'll take pictures of it, or you'll be sent pictures of what you're building, and you'll post it on your social media, or you'll share it with your friends. This is what we're doing. This is what we're building. Blah blah blah. This okay. That's great. Right? If you had sponsored some orphan, let's say, for example, you get quarterly updates about about the orphan that you're sponsoring, his report card or their picture, and of course you'll share that with others, so people know that this is the boy that I'm sponsoring right now in so and so country. Okay, that's great. I have no problem with that. Sometimes they do more work than a believer does. That's great, but their morality is very apparent. The morality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very hidden. It's very hidden. In fact, the more hidden it is, the more accepted it is. What I mean by that is that we have a hadith that says that the act that is done in utmost secrecy is the one that holds the highest reward. Okay? What I mean by that is there are certain acts of goodness that you do that only God sees. I'll give you very simple examples. Okay? You are in a heated argument with your husband or with your wife or with your spouse. Okay? It gets heated, like there's an argument here, and all sorts of old stuff now comes flying out. Stuff you've been holding on to for like months, and I'm just waiting for the right moment to just use this, and voila, I used it, and oh man, it came out too fast. You know what I'm saying? Like, geez, man, you've been holding on to that for a long time. Anyways, now what ends up happening is to not escalate the fight anymore. You swallow your anger, or your mom says something to you, your father says something to you. Now you're an adult, right? Now you yourself are a parent. You go over to visit them. How's it going? Blah blah blah. And they say things to you that triggers you from when you were younger, and you're quite upset about what they're saying to you. Now they might joke, but sometimes the harshness of the words of our parents really stings us, right? As kids, that kind of carries forward, later on in our life. I don't say anything. I swallow my anger. I have it here. My anger is right here, and I push it down. No one sees me pushing it down. Nobody sees me swallowing that anger. Nobody sees me walking away from my anger. Okay? Nobody sees me, fighting my desire to do something haram. They can't see it physically, right? It's not written on my forehead. I am currently fighting a desire right now, but you can't. No, it's inside of me. It's inside of me. I am faced with an opportunity now to sin. There's nobody around me. I can do it very easily, and I put it away, and I don't do it. Nobody sees me. That's moral, very moral. It's very moral. Nobody sees me but who? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And oh, by the way, He rewards you for it. And rewards you of the highest realm. Because nobody saw it. You didn't come home and announce, oh, by the way, I didn't do this sin, did that. No, not at all. Not at all. You don't go back and tell your spouse, you know what? I could have said this, but I didn't. Hopefully you don't do that. I could have said this, but I didn't because, I respect your mother, or I respect you, or I respect... No, keep it to yourself. If you're biting your tongue, if you're putting up with blood relationship for Silat Rahim, if you are always taking the higher road, please follow me carefully. If you're always taking the higher road, I'm always the one, Maulana, to take the higher road. It's taxing, it's daunting, it's tiring. I can't do it. Mujhse nahi ho raha, I can't do it. But you do it because it's the right thing to do, especially it's your spouse, it's your in-laws, it's your kids, it's your siblings, it's your blood relationship. It's some uncle who always has pinching comments to make about your weight and your height and what you're wearing and I don't know, this and that. And you just say, okay, it's my dad's older brother, it's my dad's younger brother, it's my mom's brother, let's walk away. And you walk away. You take the high road. Nobody sees it. You're not, I'm taking the high road. You don't do that. But who sees it? God sees it. Allah sees it. Allah sees it, man. Trust me, He sees it. So now when you're helping somebody out and you don't get the response from them, know for sure you'll get the response from Him. Because let's face it, one of the most difficult things for any of us to do as human beings is do something 100% for somebody else. I'm sorry. The reality is that we subconsciously, consciously, I have no idea. We always search for a way to somehow benefit me. 1%, 10%, 99%, doesn't matter. A lifelong struggle for us is the struggle of khulus, of ikhlas, of sincerity, true sincerity. Why do you think Shaitan says, look, everybody illa al-mukhlasin, except for the ones who purify others, is the one that everyone else I can affect. This special group who have really figured out khulus, I can't. They're immune to me. We really have to work on the idea that, fine, you know what? If I didn't get what I'm looking for from them, the acknowledgement, the thank you, and by the way, to be thanked is a completely innate desire. There's nothing wrong with feeling a little bit of a pinch if someone doesn't acknowledge the gifts that you give them. Even Allah says, in shakartum la'azidannakum. If you thank me, I'll give you more. Not that He needs our thanks, but He's talking about the fact that, look, this desire to thank and be thanked is very much an innate desire of ours. I mean, if I give somebody a gift, I want to know, did they like it? Did it fit? Does it work? Should I return it? So later on, when I buy them another gift, I know that this is, let's say, for example, something to avoid, right? Part of that is to always acknowledge when someone is reaching out to you for assistance, acknowledge the fact that, you know what, I appreciate your phone call. Thank you for thinking about me. Right now, I need to figure this out by myself. Cool. Perfect. Let them put the wall up. Let them say, you know what? Because it's up to them. They have to dictate to you now. You can't say, I'm going to force myself. I'm coming over. I don't want to see anybody. Respect that boundary. But when we don't get the response that we want from them, do not get disheartened and say, I'm never doing this again. I knew it was a bad idea, blah, 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 this and that. There are people who go to funerals, for example. They love going to funerals. Legit. They actually see it as a beautiful act of worship. They went there. They don't know, am I this close to this person? Should I go to the funeral? Is this and that? Blah, blah, blah. Let me go. I went there. I went to her. I sent my condolences. I gave her my poor son my condolences. I didn't get the response that I wanted. Almost as if there was a look like, what are you doing here at my mom's funeral? Like we're not even tight. That's weird. It's happened before, trust me. And then you stop and think on your way home, you know what? I'll never go to a funeral again. No, it's not the right pattern. If she just lost her mother. Maybe she has no idea how to think right now. But you know who does know? God knows. Allah sees it. We have to start believing that. Okay? So if I'm looking for validation of my good deed through somebody else and I don't get it, that doesn't mean you put a pin to the balloon of your good deeds. It means change the validation source to God. He sees the things that no one else sees. He sees the high road. He sees you swallowing your anger. He sees you biting your tongue. He sees you walking away from sin that no one else sees. Trust Him. He'll never let you down. He'll never let you down. Now, how do I fix this? Because one of the things that blocks us from getting to others is our ego, right? Is our ego. We become individuals. I become someone who's so self-involved, I can't see anybody else. In fact, I see others through me. It's my wife, it's my kids, those are my parents. Whoa, whoa. Right? Everyone else, is seen as just an extension of me. So even though that's a different person than me, there's me inside of them. Do you follow me? And if there is no extension possible, that person is nothing to me. Okay? So a random guy at SABA Center who needs help, why should I? Who is he to me? Not a friend. He's not a friend of a friend. He's not even a neighbor of a friend. Who is he to me? Right away, why should I? Almost as if I will only help the ones that have an extension of me. So essentially, I'm helping myself, right? And that's the convoluted dimension of the ego. It's not only about yourself. You actually now end up exporting yourself onto others. And subconsciously now you end up doing what? You end up taking a part of yourself and actually hijacking the person themselves. Saying, look, you're your individual person, but you're my wife. You're my daughter. Remember that. You're my mother. Remember that. Subconsciously. We don't do it like, because we only realize that when somebody else is there that has zero connection to me whatsoever. Then the true test comes. Should I help this stranger or not? Yeah, you should. How do I fix that? This ego. How do I fix this ego of mine? Now, Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayh, in his book of Adab al-Salat, as I mentioned yesterday, a beautiful book, he talks about the distraction of the idols in this world. And one of the biggest idols we have is ourselves. Okay? It's a major idol that we have is ourselves. How do we now essentially save ourselves from ourselves? So he says, he gives two different dimensions to this discussion. Let me mention those two in a little bit detail, and then inshallah masar. The first thing he says is beneficial knowledge is needed to fight this, and beneficial action is needed to fight this. Ilm and amal, that's both beneficial, not fuzuli, not useless. Okay? Now, what is that knowledge that's beneficial? That beneficial knowledge, he says, is one or two things. The first thing is contemplate. Now, I want you guys to focus with me for a moment here, okay? I know it's hard, man. You're on some iPad or some phone or some device or some TV. I apologize. I know it's hard. I'm talking to a camera right now. So, I mean, we're doing our best here. The most beneficial knowledge when it comes to you fighting your ego is to imagine life without your ego. Oh, what a great question. What a great question. As much as we love ourselves, it's daunting to be egotistical. It's tiring. You're working constantly to figure out how can I do this one act to somehow benefit me. Someone says, let me pick you up and let me take you to the soup kitchen on Sunday. Let's go, do something good this weekend. Let's go help out those who are less fortunate. They're always looking for volunteers at the soup kitchen. Perfect. Let's go. You feel good. You get there. You think, wow, you know what? This is a prime time for me to really sell myself. So what do? I ask someone, do me a favor, let's take a picture of me pouring the soup into the bowl. Make sure you get when the soup leaves the spoon onto the bowl, okay? But I can't be looking at you. It has to be very organic. Yeah, everything about this is organic, right? Make sure make sure you get my face and blah blah blah, perfect. And then take about 10 or 15, perfect. Boom, 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 click. You look at it, it's okay, and post that on social media. Doing my part. I don't know. Hashtag giving back. Oh Lord, right? Just do it quietly and just do it, right? So yeah, you help the guy out. You gave him soup. He feels good. You feel good, but you made it about yourself. And we do that. I do that a lot. You do that a lot, possibly. How do we fix that? He says, imagine life without that. Imagine you not worrying about a photographer. Imagine you not making sure that my phone is fully charged. Imagine you simply going, doing, coming back. Not sifting through 40 selfies to find out which one now will be posted. And then he says on the second portion of the beneficial knowledge, imagine now how destructive your life has become because of this ego of yours. Have you lost friends? Have people walked away from you? Have you lost opportunities? Have you become someone that you simply vowed you would never become, all because of your ego? These 4 or 5 things, stop and ask ourselves these tough questions. Contemplate, self-thought, sit there in a quiet area, quiet your nafs, quiet your soul. The best time to do that is at salat, I tell you. Just before salat or after salat or both. Sit there for 5 minutes, man. 5 minutes, 300 seconds. Sit there and just quiet your soul. Lower your heart rate. Get your breathing down to a resting state. Let your mind now think about what you're doing, what I'm doing. That type of knowledge is beneficial, he says. And then he says, if you are somebody whose world has become you, he goes, the treatment for that, and when it comes to the beneficial action part now, is to do something that breaks the ego. For example, and this is not a joke. These are things that, I think work. Be the one who takes out the garbage in your home. Okay? And that means, guys, opening the fridge and taking out all the expired food out of the fridge. Okay? Going to the bathroom now, taking out the garbage from the bathroom, for example. Okay? Be someone who cleans the bathrooms inside your homes. All 3 of them, all 4 of them, or one of them, wherever you're living. When the center opens up again, or I'm not sure if SABA's open right now, be the guy or be that person who fixes the shoes. Pick up someone's shoes. Feel the warmth inside the shoes from their feet and put it inside that, if you still have those cubby holes in the front of SABA. Be that person. Humble yourself. Do things that you know your ego would say, dude, what are you doing? You know who you are? And then avoid things that you know will pump your ego. For example, if you know that by me reciting something brings out the worst in me, I'm waiting for someone to say, bah, mashallah. Mashallah, you read amazing. Like, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Then maybe take a break from reading, from reciting. Right? If you're somebody who rushes to the mosque at salat time to get to the front row, it has to be the front, because that's where the heavyweights of the Jamaat are, right? The front row. And you're not a second, you're a first row guy, man. Then make it a point to go a little bit late and get a spot all the way in the back by the kitchen in the men's hall. Do that. Small things, I tell you, but things that actually work. In the process now, you end up killing your ego, weakening it. When you weaken the ego, you now have a little bit more brain space and heart space to think about others. And right now, guys, we desperately need to think about each other. Don't assume that everyone has the silver lining that you have. Don't assume that people now are great. Don't assume even by their happy posts on social media or on Instagram, or they're active in your WhatsApp groups, they're not dying inside. Maybe once in a while check in. Literally go through your contacts. Pick out 5 or 6 people, random people that you haven't spoken to in months and say, just checking in, salam, how's it going? Maybe a nice emoji. Goes a long way. Goes a long, long way. And this was the sunnah of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. She lived the life of being selfless. She gave, she thought about everybody else. She even put herself in harm's way to defend the walayats of Amir al-Mu'mineen and her husband. Shahadat of Sayyidah Fatima. Inshallah, we have a program tomorrow night as well, and I'll also, recite the musibah tomorrow night as well. Just a few minutes tonight. Inshallah, the rest of it will be tomorrow. The situation of the Ummah after the Prophet of Allah's death was very tense, as many of you know, historically. And it got to the point where when they wanted to get allegiance from Amir al-Mu'mineen, to validate the Khilafat of the first Khalifa, Amir al-Mu'mineen kept denying that request. Imagine the pain of Imam Ali. The first Khalifa would send someone to him and say, Ali, the Imam of your time is summoning you to come and give him allegiance. And he says, I don't accept him to be the Imam of my time, and walks away. A second time, a second man approaches him and says that Ali, Amir al-Mu'mineen, is summoning you to give bay'at to him. Imagine now how much pain there is for Ali. He's quiet, Imam Ali. Goes back home. And that's when, these individuals took things to another level altogether. It's important to know the history, guys. This is not meant to disunite. This is not meant to upset. It's simply meant to remember our mother. It's one thing when you threaten to burn down a house and you burn down the door. It's one thing when you bring firewood and you pile it up at the base of the door. They arrive at the door of Ali, banging on the door, yelling for Ali to come out, to drag him to go and force the bay'at and the allegiance. They bang on the door, there is no answer. They bang on the door, there is no answer, when finally the one who answers the door is Fatima. So long as I am standing here, you will not get Ali. You will not get Abu al-Hasan. Then we will burn down this door if we have to. Do you know there are small kids in this house? It doesn't matter to us. The way that the doors back then in the homes that were constructed was that, when you first initially opened the front door, you couldn't see inside the house right away. There was another door that was there. Just a few steps in, there was a wall, and there was another door, and through that door, then you would get inside the home. And they would, of course, protect the view of their women inside their home, and so people can't look in. And why is that important? Because when things became escalated and Fatima wouldn't leave and wouldn't open the door, it came a moment now where the door is on fire, and the thrust of the door had hit Fatima so hard that it crushed her between the door and the wall behind her. And from the pain, she felt unconscious. From the pain, now she became unconscious. They entered the room. They dragged Ali to the masjid. At that moment, now she's unconscious, Fatima. Asma bint Umays now begins to wake up, Fatima. Fatima wakes up. Look at the selfless nature now. Mohsin is shaheed. She herself now is hurting. Things are broken inside of her. But her first question is, Aina Abu al-Hasan? Where is Abu al-Hasan? Where is Imam Ali? She forgets about her pain. She forgets about everything else. At that moment, Asma said that they've gone to the masjid. Fatima leaves the house for the masjid. The only thing I'm going to say about what happened in that masjid is that when she was walking towards the masjid, she was holding the hands of her kids. But when she was walking back from the masjid, she was using the walls of the homes now to help her get back home. She was 18 years old. She didn't need the help of the walls to get back. God knows what happened inside that masjid. She comes home inside. Asma, I'm going to my room now. If if you hear the tasbih of Allah, I am in this world. The moment you stop hearing my tasbih, I am gone. She begins the tasbih. Asma hears the tasbih. There comes a moment now the dhikr of Allah stops. Asma bint Umays says, Ey Shahzadi Kaunain, Ya Sayyida Fatima, calls her out. There is no response. Ya bint Muhammad, there is no response. Asma enters the room now, lying there lifeless. Is Fatima Zahra, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. When you see your father, Asma says to her, send him my khas salams. She goes out the front door looking for someone now. She sees a young Hassan, a young Hussein. They look up now, they understand something isn't right. Asma, Aina Umna, Aina Umna. Where is our mother? Where is our mother? She doesn't say a word, turns back inside. They both follow her. They get to the room now, where now she's lying there. Imam Hassan runs towards the body of his mother, begins to cry. Hussein waits. Amma, ana Hussein, Amma. Ma Hussein hu. This is Hussein. I've never come to you without you calling me. I was Qurrata Ain wa Thamarata Fawadi for you. I was the apple of your eyes and the light of your heart. At that moment now, everything is gone. They go in towards the masjid now, the children, and they find looking for their father. Imam Ali looks at Imam Hassan, looks at Imam Hussein, realizes that Fatima is no longer in this world. He begins now to cry to the point where he loses consciousness. At that moment, they pick up Ali. They bring him back to the house now. There is this wasiyat nama that he remembers that Fatima told him. Ali, I want you to wash my body. Ali, I want you to wrap my body. Ali, I want you to take my janazah and mayyat out in the middle of the night. Imam Ali is giving ghusl. How many husbands do you know in the SABA community that actually washed the body of their own wife when she leaves them? But my Muslim Mawla is there, Asma is there. They begin to wash the body of Fatima outside the ghusl khana. You can hear the sound of the family crying. Imam Ali now, last point of the masjid dua, the rest inshallah tomorrow night. Asma, go outside and quiet the children down. I don't want the neighbors now to hear. Asma says, I left the room where the ghusl was happening. The moment I left the room, I could hear this loud cry from inside the room. I went back inside, Mawla. You were the one that told me not to quiet down the children. What happened? I could hear you crying with tears rolling down my Mawla's face. He said, Asma, what do I tell you? I had no idea that my Fatima's ribs were completely broken. Fatima Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Ya Zahra, 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 Ya Zahra. Oh, the purest, pious Lady of Light. Oh, the purest, pious Lady of Light. An example of dignity and might. An example of dignity and might. How can we not shed a tear for you? How can we not shed a tear for you when we see the pain that you went through? When we see the pain that you went through, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra,
Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Oh, the purest, pious Lady of Light. Oh, the purest, pious Lady of Light. An example of dignity and might. How can we not shed a tear for you? How can we not shed a tear for you when we see the pain that you went through? Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Tu hame hifz-e arama de de, tu hame hifz-e arama de de. अपनी चादर का साहिबा दे दे, तेरी कुदरत में क्या नहीं बीबी, तुझसे चाहे दो जहां दे दे। या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, From a young age you have faced tyranny. From a young age you have faced tyranny. Felt great pain as you lost your baby. Felt great pain as you lost your baby. Suffered sorrow as your father left you. Suffered sorrow as your father left you. Yet you stayed strong. We wish to be like you. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya तू हमें हिफ्ज़-ए अरमा दे दे, तू हमें हिफ्ज़-ए अरमा दे दे, अपनी चादर का साहिबा दे दे। तेरी कुदरत में क्या नहीं बीबी, तुझसे चाहे दो जहां दे दे। या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा। सय्यदतुन निसाउल आलमीन, सय्यदतुन निसाउल आलमीन। Your mother, the Arabs' uncrowned queen. Your mother, the Arabs' uncrowned queen. You're the center of the pure Ahlul Bayt. You're the center of the pure Ahlul Bayt. Chief of all those mentioned ladies so great. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. फर्श मजलिस पे और मुसल्ले पे, फर्श मजलिस पे और मुसल्ले पे, हर जवां कह रहा है रो रो के। हर जवां कह रहा है रो रो के, हम रहे ना रहे मगे बीबी, हम रहे ना रहे मगे बीबी, था क़यामत रहेगा में सरवर या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा, या ज़हरा. By Mawla's side, after Rasulullah, by Mawla's side, after Rasulullah, you stood up to the thugs of Medina, you stood up to the thugs of Medina. When the door came crashing down on you, when the door came crashing down on you, Mohsen taken cruelly away from you, Mohsen taken cruelly away from you, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है, तुझको उम्मत ने यूं सताया है, मर के मोहसिन पे भी रुलाया है, तुझको बाबा के बाद उम्मत ने हाय दरबार में बुलाया है, या ज़हरा, 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 या ज़हरा. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Assalamu alayki ya Fatima al-Zahra, Sayyidat al-Nisa'i al-Alamin. Assalamu alayka ya Hasan ibn Ali, السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيتم وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر الأهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن ويا شريك القرآن، أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته بالنبي وآله رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه.